Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey everybody, what's going on? I didn't even ask before the show. How are my levels? You guys sound okay.
You sound all right.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, we're McConaugheying up in here.
Green light.
Did you green light?
I did green light.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Here's what's on the agenda. It's October.
It is.
I was like, what can we talk about? Let's talk about October and whatever else. We got things. We got plans to make. We're going to make them here in public.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What could go wrong?
Hey there, by the way. Oh, geez. Yep, we're live. Hey there, Helix Rock Radio. What's going on? How are you guys doing? Oh, speaking of Helix Rock Radio, I'm going to ignore them for a second and talk about the social media stuff. This will be our last StreamYard. If you don't know, and you probably shouldn't because it's not important for a listener, but on the back end, we've been using StreamYard, and they nearly doubled their price, and so I canceled it. So this will be the last StreamYard broadcasts, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And I had an offer to like jump on somebody else's account with them, and that is much appreciated, and basically split the cost with them, right?
Sure.
But that's supporting a company that I think is making a real bad decision when it comes to their pricing, and I kind of don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not like we didn't have StreamYard free for a year.
I mean, we're not above password sharing either, but
right.
Oh yeah. No.
But I can't. Man, that's such a bad business decision. Maybe it's a great business decision, but for what I feel like is probably a good portion of their users, that is a bad business decision.
Yeah.
So
it seemed like their whole marketing thing was accessibility, right? Like anybody and everybody could use it. So what do? Price it out. Price it out of most people's market.
I feel like, and maybe this was the, exactly. Price it out. Like they have direct competitors now that I feel are probably just as accessible that are at the old prices that StreamYard was at. So bad decision.
You had a Pepsi thing, and then you decided you're the premium cola. Oh.
Right. So it's conceivable that we might not be streaming. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't worked out the specifics. But we might, at least for a little bit, we might just go to audio streaming over on Helix, which is, in case you're wondering, if you're worried about missing a show, rockradio.live.
Yeah. But will we still be at the, grawlixpodcast.com?
Oh, we're always there. That's our forever home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if we do, and honestly, if we do go audio only streaming, maybe we'll still at least stream to one video location. But if we were to go audio only, I'd probably start making myself actually upload the audio replays on the podcast feed, because I like things sticking around. This way, even though I'm not uploading most of these shows to the podcast feed, it's on YouTube and our Facebook page, but navigating videos on Facebook is a nightmare. Our YouTube channel still has all of our replays of these shows. If we're not streaming to YouTube, I'll probably, record the audio and put them on the podcast feed. Who knows? Or nothing will change, and we'll come back, and maybe the overlays will look different, and who knows? I'm still working that out. I've been a busy man.
Yeah.
But that aside, how are you two doing?
Great. It's Halloween month.
Yeah. All month long.
It is all month long. I didn't start at the beginning of September like I do some years, because when I do that, I tend to kind of burn myself out before Halloween gets here. But I tell you what, the weather change, at least here in Grawlix homeland, is right on cue.
Yeah.
It rolled over to October, and it's like, oh, it's fall now. It feels like fall. It's cold. It's dark at like 7:30 at night or in the morning, and yeah.
Except it's going to get really hot this weekend, but then it should be back to normal again.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it still kind of gets warm during the day, but at least at night it's been cold.
Right.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't want the extreme hot, but I don't need cold, but I don't mind fall chilly. Fall chill is okay.
I like chili.
Me too. Melanie doesn't.
It's one of the best stews.
I like it to be cold when I'm sleeping.
I just had, this will segue us into a little bit of a thing. Was that just last weekend? Yeah. Melanie and I went over to my mom's house, and we had chili. And I didn't make her do it, but my mom also made cinnamon rolls, because cinnamon rolls and chili is a thing. Yeah. It is a thing. If you're from, apparently it's a only some places thing. I think it's kind of a Midwest thing, but apparently not an Omaha thing, because Melanie thinks it's weird. But I ate.
It is weird.
I ate it with the chili. I put the cinnamon roll in the bowl, and I put the chili on top.
You put it in the bowl. All right.
I put it in the bowl. Just to make a point. Just to make a point.
I don't know what that point is, but okay.
The point is Melanie's missing out. She wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no. Well, I wouldn't eat pumpkin chili either, but...
Well, that sounds disgusting.
Yeah, well, that's what was my opinion. That's why I didn't eat it.
Whoa, what's this picture?
Wow. Oh, well, I mean, so this picture...
If you're going to send me a picture in chat while we're streaming, it's going to distract me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, I was just for, like, the future, but that's basically what I've been up to. And it kind of ties into this Halloween talk anyways, so I
you
have
did
a commission that I was doing, and, I do these, like, Zentangle-y artworks, and so there is a Edgar Allan Poe themed play going on soon in Omaha, and I was commissioned to do a Edgar Allan Poe themed tangle. So it's kind of outside my wheelhouse. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I screen share it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for our Helix Rock Radio listeners, I'll just try to describe it. It's basically Edgar Allan Poe with a raven on his shoulder, but the raven is made out of quotes from the poem The Raven. Awesome. And then around Poe himself are like titles of his different stories and whatnot. So yeah, I've been doing these like word / Zentangle pieces for a while. This is probably one of the more, maybe not the most elaborate tangle piece, but it's definitely one of the more elaborate portraits I guess I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fantastic
to make it look like a person, but this one looks like a person, so I'm kind of proud of it. And I like I don't get to do a lot of horror either, so I was like, oh, how can I creep this up a little bit and put the like creepy, almost H.P. Lovecrafty lines in the background and whatnot. So
yeah, it's great. It took me a second to even recognize that as your style.
Yeah, because it's kind of not. Holly said it's like my style, but kicked up a notch or something.
It's interesting because I feel like it's your style in the eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I still see, like, you have a certain kind of line work you like to do.
Yeah,
I still see it, but yeah, wow, I love this. This is super cool.
Yeah, and I was worried about that. I was like, I don't know if that's going to work, but that's literally what the client wanted. It's like, I want the bird made out of, a lot of Nevermore. And I was like, that's a lot of Nevermore. I'm going to at least use quotes from the poem.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision. Have they seen it yet?
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't be sharing it otherwise. Yeah, so they already have the digital copy at the very least, and then I need to work on the physical copy because you gotta like literally paint it then. So
Oh, sure. Well, this looks great, Jesse. Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's real nice.
I don't know, for audio listeners, you'll just have to look for the video on this, but
Right.
it's pretty cool. It's got I don't usually do like hot colors in the background, but this is all like reds in the background, and it kind of pushes Poe forward somehow. I don't know how that works, but
Well, it definitely does. I mean, it's kind of with the Raven, especially you got the red and black thing that just always works. But
yeah,
he's also very like desaturated, whereas the red, that's where all the saturation is. So it's a real nice contrast. Yeah, awesome, man.
thanks.
You did a great job.
So that's my Halloween contribution.
Cool.
So we all have to make some Halloween art.
Yes, now we do.
I can do some Halloween art.
Let's do it.
I actually don't have a Halloween like music related thing this year. Otherwise, I could normally be like, "Here, I made an album. listen to this album and look at Jesse's picture."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should commission some album artwork from you someday.
Hey, there you go.
I hadn't contemplated it. Oh, I hit a thing. Is everything still running? All right. Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, the weekend. This still ties in because it's not Edgar Allan Poe, but we went to my mom's. We had chili, but we watched a couple of movies. One of which was the original The Haunting from 1963. So it's not Edgar Allan Poe related, but it's kind of a gothic horror thing, and it's a classic. And I've seen it many times, but there were a couple things I noticed on this watch through that I really enjoyed. For one, I mean, I'm sure I've noticed these things before, but for one, it's super funny, and part of the time it's intentional. The other part is the main character, we get her narration, right? And she's so like overwrought and like very melodramatic. And the thing that popped in my head, because she'll go to the house and she's like, it feels like the house is a giant beast and it wants to swallow me whole, and I'm just a tiny little insect inside of the belly of this whatever. And it popped in my head. I'm like, I bet this chick's like this everywhere she goes. She's like at Walmart and she's like, it's like a giant beast and it swallows me whole. It's been pulling me here since I was born. You know, whatever, just over the top, ridiculous horror narration. The other thing is, I didn't realize how much stylistically Sam Raimi lifted from this movie, because there's a lot of scenes where like there's a couple scenes where there's an entity outside of the room they're in, and the camera work and even the sound design is, if you watch particularly Evil Dead 2, but also the first one, when there's an entity trying to force its way into the cabin or in the room, the camera angles, occasionally it's like a distorted image, like a weird camera lens they threw on there. The sound design, it's like a 1-to-1 aping of the style. And I was like, whoa, I never realized that. So it, on the one hand, it makes The Haunting kind of feel ahead of its time, but it's not that. It's just Sam Raimi, homage the style a few
that made him
later.
famous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, super interesting. Also, I may have caught it before, but one of the characters is a lesbian, and it's a 1963 movie. It's not blatant, but it is pretty obvious through the dialogue eventually in the movie. And I don't know what necessarily constitutes great representation of, of different sexualities, but it seemed to me like impressively progressive representation of a gay woman in a 1963 movie. because it didn't vilify her at all. One of the characters does say something real mean about her, but it's portrayed as that character being cruel in that moment, like it being really wrong that she said this. And so that struck me as like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. Good on you, Haunting. Yeah, that's it. Oh, we watched Grave Torture, but nobody cares about grave torture.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Okay, I will mention it. It's on Netflix now if you want to check it out. Grave Torture, it's a new movie, and it's by, his name escapes me, but an Indonesian filmmaker who's done a couple other horror movies we saw that I really liked, that was on Shudder, Satan's Slaves, and it's so interesting, and its sequel, because the titles sound like real trashy. They sound like low-hanging fruit death metal album names and stuff, right? But both of them are legitimately all the movies are legitimately well-made, atmospheric, kind of creepy horror movies. But inevitably, it's tonally so interesting because, they'll be kind of maybe a little slow, atmospheric, some really creepy things. But by the end, you got zombies, you got whatever. It usually flips into this like a little bit more campy, over the top horror thing. Super interesting. But yeah, Grave Torture was good. What?
I think that guy's name was Juke.
It was. Hold on, I'll look it up real quick because it wasn't that. That is kind of.
With a name like
I wanna
that,
be sure.
you just have your own streaming service and you call it the Jukebox.
It was like JOOK, I want to say.
I don't think it was, but that's okay. Let me look it up.
Well, it was something very similar to that, if that wasn't it.
Oh, it's JOKO. Joko
Oh,
Anwar.
okay. That makes sense.
Close. You were closer than I thought
I had
you
all
were.
the letters, I just didn't have them in the right order.
Yeah. Indonesian horror movies. Also, I don't see too many movies out of Indonesia, so that's interesting. And both of them also, now this is not going to be like some niche thing because it's a huge religion, really kind of play with religious themes, like Islamic things, and that is something that I'm, especially Grave Torture. That's really what that movie's all about.
Which I've never heard of.
And that is something that's like, I am not well versed in most other religions of the world. So that's super interesting to me. It's interesting to see, because, over here you see a lot of like, it's the thing, think The Exorcist or any other movie inspired loosely by The Exorcist, where it's like Christian religion themes, but like creepy because it's a horror movie. Ooh, religion's creepy. And it legitimately is sometimes. These movies are, especially Grave Torture, is like that, except it's not Christianity. It's their religion in that area. And that is fascinating to me to see. Because, I'm so used to crosses and whatnots.
Yeah.
Okay. That's enough of my thoughts.
It has a little bit of an ambiguous ending, in my opinion. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure for what actually happened and what didn't. I don't know. But
Grave Torture is. I liked the Satan Slaves movies better.
I would agree.
Their religious themes are more familiar, are more in line with horror movies that you might see over here, even if it's not Christian religion.
Man, if we weren't demonetized on YouTube before, we are now.
Really? but they're part of what I liked about the first two movies, the
Satan Slaves.
Yeah, was partially was like the culture that is different from ours. Like when people died, they wrapped them up in a sheet and they buried them that day. There was like no autopsy, no nothing. They died, they were buried. Which, in a warm, moist place, that kind of makes sense to me a little bit. You don't want to have a bunch of dead bodies laying around, but it adds to the
I think
weirdness
that's
of
a rule for most places.
no.
Don't
Usually,
leave your dead bodies laying around.
well, I mean, yeah, but we like embalm people and do a bunch of stuff before we bury them. They're like, nope, they're done. You
And
know?
those were also not like super not placed way back in the past, but somewhat period pieces, so a little bit older in terms of like the setting. And maybe they just skipped over parts for the movie, but
Well, I think it's partially because it was started off in a very rural area, and
yeah,
and they don't have lots
and
of
poor.
facilities to use. Yeah.
But it became when Melanie and I were watching that movie, it became a running joke of like, because there's several deaths in the movie. It's a horror movie. People die. And it's like, well, they're dead. Throw them in the ground. Get them in the ground right now. Like, it's like, oh, there's no investigation. You know, half the family's out of the country at the moment. Nope, no time. Throw them in the ground. They died this morning. They're in the ground by the afternoon. It just seemed very interesting to, kind of humorous to me, but.
Well, especially because some of them there's definitely they died in a weird way. They should have investigated that a little bit more.
Got no time. No time for investigations.
Better hurry.
Anyway, whatever. Interesting filmmaker, and so far it seems like he makes primarily horror movies. So that's somebody I keep my eye on. Not that horror film directors have to just do horror, and I know like the Wes Cravens of the world get pigeonholed into it and resent it, but I think you can kind of tell when they like it. They, like the Mike Flanagans.
Yeah.
He does horror, but I feel like he does. If he was to branch out, it'd be drama, and he gets plenty of that in his some slightly horror-related things. Although that first Stephen King movie, the next Stephen King movie adaptation that's coming up from Amazon that he did, I think is more drama than horror. But
yeah, what is he doing? Because I know that Stephen King himself has already seen it and said it's a good one. And he's picky about his adaptations, so.
Life of Chuck. The Life of Chuck. The Life of Chuck, but he's also was working on the dude just works. He works all the time. The Dark Tower series, maybe?
Oh man, he's trying to tackle that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
but Life of Chuck,
done well so far.
Life of Chuck, I think, is the next thing coming up. It'll be distributed through Neon. Oh, interesting. I assume that would just be on Amazon.
I heard that they're adapting The Talisman for something too, which I'm actually listening to now, and I'm like, that would be such a bizarre book to see turned into a show. This is like animals that turn, or people who turn into like creepy demon animal looking things, and
like
this kid can flip back and forth between our world and another world.
Cool.
So
it's like a little cat bug.
Little cat bug, yeah.
Cat bug.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched Bravest Warriors, Jesse? Seems like something that would be.
No,
okay.
But I mean, it gets referenced all the time. I've seen. I may even own some Bravest Warriors comics on Humble Bundle, probably.
Okay. We were revisiting because they at some point had made at least one season that we never watched because it was on YouTube for a long time, but then it actually got picked up by some station, some whatever. But I think it was like in Canada or something. Point is, there's some that we'd never watched, so we kind of jumped back at the beginning on YouTube and we're watching it, and it's great. It's still a great show, but then also looking at the dates, I'm like, this is well over 10 years old, and it kind of depressed me a little bit.
What even is time? It's crazy. I don't get it.
I want to say about Life of Chuck real quick. Tom Hiddleston, I think, is the lead. Karen Gillan, Melanie's favorite doctor companion.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
and importantly, well, I was hoping this would be the case.
Nicolas
Flanagan
Cage.
No.
Not that cool. Come on.
Oh, Flanagan, Nicolas Cage
Oh,
joint.
yes.
That'd be something. Well, Flanagan
Randall
has the
Flagg,
habit
make it
of.
so.
He's one of those directors where once like an actor works with them, he then uses those actors in every like he same people all the time. He must be a
sure.
great guy to work with because like you watch his like Netflix series and it's always the same people. I think at this point he has to do ensemble stories just to support like his filmmaking family that he's grown. But my whole point was Mark Hamill was in the Fall of House of Usher, and I was like, "Oh, I hope Mark Hamill gets added to the stable." And apparently he has, because he will also be in Life of Chuck.
Yeah.
So
All right. We get Mark Hamill in a Stephen King property. I like that.
yeah.
That could be fun.
Mark Hamill's character was great in the Fall of House of Usher, because he was like kind of a scary, seedy, like bagman. Just very stoic and super gravelly voice. But not hammy like oftentimes he'll do because he does a lot of voice acting. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it was
Speaking
really...
of the Fall of Usher.
Yeah. Yep.
Now that Edgar Allan Poe. Right. There we are, bringing it all back. Never
I
more.
knew we'd get there eventually.
You know what? Like, I'm sorry, Mark Hamill's character in that thing. It was weird because he made being like a cold-blooded, like merciless person seem like a noble thing to do or something. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, Randy? Like he was like, this was my calling. This is what I had to do, or something like that. Kind of a feeling.
Well, outside of the fact that like in the series, the family, it's like a super rich family that made their money off big pharma. They're like a big pharma company, and outside of the fact that they really hit on the point that the company is responsible for thousands, if not millions, of people dying from overdoses and various other things, it's the show's got a message. It's got a little bit of a message, but outside of that fact, he's like the only character who's like, yeah, no, this dude's a murderer. He's probably murdered more than a few people for this family. He also, though, seems to be the most, what's the word? He's got scruples, or he doesn't, but he's got like
no, he has like a code he lives by or something.
A code. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else is just real crappy.
Yeah.
The unwritten rule of the road.
They would sell their own family to make money or whatever.
That's a great show if you haven't watched it. Hey, you guys been enjoying anything else? What have you guys been up to? This has been a real sloppy kind of what we've been watching or reading segment, but that's okay.
I watched a little bit more of Agatha all along. I don't think I'm totally caught up on that. I think a new episode dropped, and so I'm not totally caught up. But I was liking where it was going. I think where I had left off was like them kind of doing the reveal and like her slowly like revealing the different layers, the WandaVision of it all, and now she's Agatha, but she has no power kind of thing, and so now they're on this. She's kind of assembled her motley crew of witches that don't really like her, but they all have their own reasons for needing to maybe get the power of the witch's road or whatever. And so it's an interesting story, and I think one of the things that's fun about it is like in the credit sequences, which Disney's MCU shows have always done pretty cool, end credits or beginning credits or whatever to their shows, and this does like cartoon. It does like the cartoon witch from Bugs Bunny. It does like what's her name from The Craft? We Are the Weirdos, Mister. They have her. They've got, that's Nancy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they've got. I mean, like they throw all these fun pop culture witch references into just their pre-roll.
Nice.
Sorry. Did you know the chick that plays Nancy, and at least in the original, was also the girl who played the worst witch with Tim Curry? Have you guys ever seen that?
Oh man, her next to Tim Curry would be great.
Yeah, that she flies with him.
Huh.
Yeah. Well, if you haven't seen it, like it is from my childhood, but it's pretty good Halloweeny kids movie
Mhm.
with Tim Curry, which makes everything better.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
for
loved
sure.
everything he was in as a kid.
Space. Sorry, that's my go-to now.
He's my favorite Captain Hook. Is Tim Curry.
I don't know if I remember him as.
What was he in Captain Hook?
He was he was Captain Hook's voice in Fox's Peter Pan and the Pirates.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's the best
Okay.
Captain Hook for sure.
Yeah, I definitely watched that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
The other thing that I watched was Chaos on Netflix. It's Jeff Goldblum.
Goldblum. Yep.
Zeus. Yeah, and it's
How is that? I was so
it's
curious, but
pretty
it looks
good.
weird.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
weird, but it's pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's Jeff Goldblum. He's basically playing himself, only he also has the power of the King of the Gods. So there's that. But it's so crazy. Like, was it Prometheus? Yeah, Prometheus, who stole the flame and gave it to the mortals, and then was chained to a mountain to be pecked forever by eagles or whatever. Yeah, it's so like there's this whole back and forth between Prometheus and Zeus, like on the regular. And Zeus treats him like his best friend or confidant, but he's like the dude that's been tortured for a millennia.
Mm-hmm. So, what are the King of the Gods' powers? Is it just like I can turn into animals and seduce chicks and then throw lightning bolts, or is it more than that?
I mean, like all the gods have got quite a few abilities, very clearly. And I don't know that we've met all of them, but like the bigs are involved. But they've done this whole thing where like most of the gods are kind of estranged from Zeus. So really, all we've gotten as far as like Zeus's kids thus far has been Dionysus. Like he's like the most recent. Like he was the last god to be added to the Olympian pantheon. So it's interesting. He's like the baby of the family and also resented by most. And then you got the bigs. You've got like Zeus's brothers and sisters. You've got Hades. You've got Poseidon. You've got Hera, obviously. Yeah. And then they reference a lot of things, and there's some interesting like casting. Like Eddie Izzard is one of the Fates, which is interesting. So they like pull in the other elements. They've got the Furies are showing up in there, and so it's just interesting. There's this whole. It seems like there's this whole re-interest in Greek mythology specifically, because another one that I think we have to see that we haven't seen, and my brother Jacob has even recommended this, was there's a Zack Snyder, I think it's animated, Twilight of the Gods or something, and he's just like, have you seen this? And I'm like, oh no, but I'm probably gonna have to, because
I've seen a trailer. It looked real edgy, real Zack Snydery.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But like a lot of people are saying, yes, it's very edgelord, but also pretty good. I'm like, really though?
Okay, that's on
So
Netflix. I think that's on Netflix, right?
Yeah. So I guess I am at least. I'm very curious because like people I actually admire are saying that a Zack Snyder thing is good.
Okay.
I'll be the judge.
Okay.
Of that.
I'm down to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it'll look great for sure.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's animated, so now I guess like, what is that? What is the Zack Snyder animated joint? You know?
He did an owl movie that was animated. Or maybe I think that might have been CG. The Owls of, like, what was it? Hold on.
Is it like the Guardians of something something?
Yeah.
Okay, I never watched
Legend
that
of the Guardians, the Owl of Gahul. Was he the director on that? Yeah, he was the director. I've not necessarily heard great things about it. It's like a CG animated thing.
Yeah.
So he's done some animation before. That was 2010. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah, we're old.
I think that
Well,
flew under the radar.
Oh, it flew under the radar. All right.
is he an artist besides, I mean, being a director?
I thought he was, but I don't know. Maybe I heard misinformation.
Well, he has a very artistic way.
Yeah, he likes
about him.
visuals. Like, he's
Yeah.
good at visuals. I don't think anyone can, refute that.
I just wonder because it seems like it would be hard to describe a scene as well as you could just draw it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
Well,
if you
I mean,
wanted
that
something
is-
in particular.
That is, I mean, that's kind of yeah, not all directors have to be able to know how to articulate what they want. A lot of times, if they can't draw it themselves, I know some directors will do like real rough storyboards, or they'll just work with like a storyboard artist to, kind of hatch out their vision. And then you've also got the cinematographer, depending on how tight they keep to storyboards and stuff. A cinematographer is arguably has more influence on the final image. Although it depends, because some directors definitely have, like, they're going to direct their cinematographer certain ways. Like, think Kubrick. There's Kubrick like symmetrical shots and very certain kind of shots that I feel like, regardless what cinematographer he's working with, it's still going to look like a Kubrick movie. But I kind of subscribe to the auteur theory, but I do also kind of think directors get a lot of credit that also should be more equally shared with a lot of other, storyboard artists, editors, cinematographers. Like, it's a huge group effort,
Right.
but it's hard to be like, oh, I love, blah 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 movies, or Christopher Nolan, whatever. And some directors are more open to that, and some directors are more like, no, this is how we're doing it. They have a specific vision. Zack Snyder's a good example of, like, he definitely has a specific vision, because I think a lot of times, even if you didn't know going in, you can kind of pick out a Zack Snyder movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's telltale signs. I read somewhere at some point that he was a painter, and I was like, that makes sense, because he really likes his movies. Even though live action stuff is often very painterly, and he seems much more interested in forms, muscle bodies in very specific poses, looking like a painting rather than like the story itself or
like
characters.
That scene of her like sowing the seed or plowing the field or something,
Yeah,
against silhouetted against the moon. It was like almost very like purposefully flat, and I was like, that's crazy. But yeah, that I could see that as a painting.
I know we've talked about this exact thing before, but he is like a Shyamalan, right? Where it's like, if you could I wish I could just take certain elements or team you up with certain people so that you could split the duties, because it's like, you're a good director. stop writing. Stop writing. Because your stories they don't land most of the time. Snyder is like visually, he's a great filmmaker visually. Maybe get a co-director or just do cinematography or something.
Yeah.
Don't have any input on the story or the characters
Or the pacing.
or the pacing.
Yeah.
Get out of the editing room.
Yeah.
Get to the chopper. I almost slipped into an Arnie there.
Why do we need 3 hours to actually get your point? You know, like why is the extended version of Superman v Batman Justice something? Why does that actually make more sense? Because the first version put me to sleep.
Yeah.
Dude, that is something I was thinking about. Well, because I still don't know why I did it, but I watched, watching the Snyder cuts of the Rebel Moon movies. It's like you could have so easily trimmed down, pick any 3 slow-mo shots that were completely unnecessary. 90% of the wheat harvesting scene, and you could have used that time to fit in the other stuff that was actually interesting or a little interesting that ended up leaving a plot hole when you removed it for the original, the PG-13 cut.
The stuff that actually told a story as opposed to just showing us a thing that they were doing.
Right.
Very slowly and from multiple angles and in a way that does not move the plot forward.
Right.
Yeah, that's maddening. I mean, there were some sequences that's like, okay, that's kind of long, might be hard to shoehorn in, but not really, because there's so much extra crap in the theatrical or the PG-13 cuts that is unnecessary. He just wanted to. Mm-hmm. Whatever, not a good storyteller. But yeah, let's watch his animated show on Netflix.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's also easy to sit here and criticize. I'll make that conceit. Sure. What were you gonna say, Melanie?
Well, with anime though, you can like storyboard everything out, or you should, I would think, storyboard everything out before you even start the movie. And if there's going to be issues that come up with, production people or whatever, that you can figure those out before you even start it. Because isn't that a lot of what it is? Is there's so much that we filmed, and now, but they say to cut this or something like that. People say
no, because they storyboard, especially something like a Zack Snyder live action movie. The Army of the Dead movie might be a little bit different, but like the superhero movies, Rebel Moon, those are those cases where it's like you could argue this is an animated movie with a few live action elements, like, because superhero movies are that way now. So they storyboard that all. That's all pre-planned to the nines.
I guess there would be a certain economy though that would go into animation, because they're not going to necessarily produce a ton of stuff that's just going to die.
Right.
They do, but not as much.
That's a good point. They
gotta pay all those people.
Yeah, that's a real good point. I don't know what the difference would be. I guess it makes sense him animating or directing animation anyway, because most normal movies that he's worked on would be shoot a bunch of stuff on green screen and then go work with the animators for the majority of the time. So anyway.
Yeah.
Well, his movies have made big money, so he's continued to be able to kind of do what he wants, and that must be kind of nice, except for the whole Justice League thing. But
it kind of sucks though a little bit, because there's probably a lot of people that have a vision, and it would be awesome to see it, but all the resources go to people who make crap movies, and then second versions of the crap movies, and suck up way more money than they should.
Let's go back to when Netflix originals were cool.
Yeah.
and not all made by Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Right.
He's really filling up his profile there, you know.
Well, Netflix, it's such a mixed bag because they've also fallen into the typical thing of like they'll pump out the cheap stuff like a network would, the true crime documentary crap and the like cooking shows and with contests and stuff. Like they'll pump that out. That's cheap to produce. But they will occasionally, like, I get Zack Snyder's a big name. I guarantee his Rebel Moon thing flopped way harder than they were expecting. But like they had signed Flanagan for a while, and Flanagan, and as far as I'm concerned, I fell off of the Midnight Club show or whatever, but everything he did with Netflix was super solid in my opinion.
Yeah, even the Bly Matter, and that one was probably the least entertaining for me.
Bly Manor. Yeah, it was good, but it was much more. It's kind of schmaltzy drama.
Yeah.
And given what he said about how the haunting of was it the haunting of Hill House?
Yeah.
Was like the last thing that he's ever gonna make that has a very bleak ending. He doesn't want to do bleak endings anymore. He wants to leave a more upbeat legacy for his children. Frickin' children ruin all the good filmmakers.
And yeah.
And I kind of feel like what?
I think that all of them kind of had a bleak ending, didn't they?
Yeah, but they also they do. I mean, his shows are depressing, but I think it had a kind of uplifting, maybe like, oh, she's okay and she lives with this woman else. I don't remember how it ended.
She's okay. She's just dead, but she's with her crazy mom. That like that.
Yeah, I suppose that's not much different than Haunting a Hill House, where it's just like, spoilers, just like, it's okay, they're all dead, and they might be stuck in that house forever, but we're going to keep that kind of vague. I guess that's not very upbeat either, but...
It's almost like this guy was influenced by Poe.
Yeah.
Dude. I mean, I don't know what he would make if you stripped out Edgar Allan Poe and Stephen King influences. I don't know what his movies would be.
Yeah. Because he's at least once he's buried somebody in a wall, and that's Poe through and through.
Oh yeah.
Why? I don't know why. He would be an easy killer to discover, burying people all in his house all the time. Because, that's just silly to me.
Did you say there would be some telltale signs?
I would.
Yeah. See, we're talking about spooky things. It's October time.
Yeah.
Speaking of October time, Melanie had an idea for, let's discuss this for a moment, for a potential episode this month of some type of a whodunit game or something we could do.
Mm-hmm. Or we could do trivia too if that is better. But Randy and maybe I don't know, maybe Jesse would win, but I feel like Randy would win because he watches too much horror
for trivia. Yeah.
And
I mean, if it's just
keeps that stuff in there.
If it's horror movies, I don't know. I would have maybe a pretty good chance. If it's horror literature, less so.
Mm-hmm. What if it's like real life serial killer stuff? True crime. You're no good at that.
I don't like. I'm not a true crime fan.
Man.
It's all Rescue 911 to me, and I hated that show. I don't need to live other people's real life trauma.
It's all bad boys. What you gonna do all the time?
Well, I don't know. Cops is a little bit different. Cops could be fun.
Cops. Yeah.
Then you don't get to know Putter Niedermeyer, which is an amazing thing. Which is every kid that parents didn't want to actually share their child's name was named Putter Niedermeyer. And whatever happened to their kid happened to Putter Niedermeyer in Rescue 911. That boy almost died like 14 times.
Someday you're going to get a knock on the door. You're going to open it. It's Melanie in like a nice Sunday Sunday dress, and she's like, "Have you heard the good word of Putter Dietermeyer? Let me tell you about his teachings. It'll save your life one day, literally."
You have like your own tracts for Putter Dietermeyer.
It saved his life. Come on, 14 times.
Right.
Don't run with the toothbrush. That's number one, because that's the first one I remember.
Don't run with the toothbrush. Just don't ever run, guys. Ever.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't. The Church of Dietermeyer. No. I don't know where to go from there. Oh man. But yeah, okay, that's we'll have to kick some ideas around, but Melanie had some interesting ideas.
That we don't have to do research, a whole lot of research at least on. We can
Well,
just
that was the thing. She's like,
find
"Well,
a
what about
thing."
this?" I'm like, "You gotta do it. You gotta research it. I can't promise all. I can't. Especially like the whodunit thing. Like I don't. That's not my specialty. I don't know.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's like Clue, you know,
yeah,
Sure.
Well, that's at one point I was like, "You just want to play Clue?" She's like, "Yeah."
because Clue is great. Come on, it's got Tim Curry, yeah.
Yeah, but the game doesn't. Okay, if we're gonna play something like Clue, you or Jesse has to do it in the voice of Tim Curry.
Oh man, I don't know if I could do a Curry.
Yeah, I don't think I can.
I'd have to really study it.
You got to go to the one place that hasn't been ruined by capitalism. Space. Maybe I'll do it.
Space. Anticipation.
Oh, yeah, he's got so many sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, is it gonna be like 70s sensual Tim Curry, or is it gonna be like 90s need a paycheck? What's this, a video game I'm shooting? Okay.
Space. Oh man, yeah.
Space.
Well, and his what I loved about his Captain Hook was he's so yelly. Like he yelled all the time. Like yelled everything. There's very little low moments with that Captain Hook. It's just God swallow be it's just like he had the best piratey like disses. He was just a diss track pirate captain of yore.
He's one of those actors where it's like, you better chew the scenery. If he's not chewing the scenery, you're not utilizing him right.
Right. Yeah.
He's just so fun to watch. There was an article a while ago that went around that he was going to be in another movie because he's had a stroke a while back.
Right.
But he was going to be in a horror movie, which is exciting. But then, like, I looked into the horror movie. I was like, oh, that kind of seems like a real low budget. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. It didn't necessarily look like a good horror movie, but who knows? It doesn't matter. They got Tim Curry. So I'm very curious when that's coming out and what that'll be like. I suspect he's not going to be not going to have a major role in it. Because I think he's mostly, I could be wrong, but I feel like he's mostly wheelchair bound now.
Yeah, last I think I heard, but maybe that was just a temporary situation. I don't know.
But I mean, what?
I was gonna say, do you want to see him from the 80s? Because I found a picture of him from North Switch.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Okay. But you know what? You get Tim Curry in your movie, just mugging for the camera, and that movie's gonna be better than most movies that come out that year.
He's just well. That's how I felt about like the Jeff Goldblum as Zeus thing. It was like, I don't care. I'll just watch Jeff Goldblum be Jeff Goldblum doing anything.
Is it doing it? Or sorry, was it doing it?
What's it doing?
Is it doing the screen share?
It's not. If you need to, you can message me in Messenger. Send it to me in Messenger, and I can pull it up. Oh wait. Okay.
Doing it?
There we go.
Hey,
Okay.
there he is. Oh yeah, man. Oh man, yeah. Yeah, she always had those eyes.
Was she
Yeah.
Nancy in that? I can't.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Who's the lead character then?
She's the girl from. I'm sorry. You can stop.
Yeah, but what was her?
Um, I don't remember what her name was, but she was in um Empire Records as the girl that shaved her head.
Okay.
Oh, yep, yep.
No, you're right. She was Nancy Fruzabulk. Okay. Uh,
Yep. She was also in Gas Food Lodging, which not many people have seen, and only girls seem to like.
so movies are like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It it's amazing, but I think I ran out of things to say. I did have a list of like horror movies that are streaming on various services, but that's not going to be interesting to watch, so or to listen to. So I've
That's
actually
pretty
ran out of
amazing.
Yeah.
I've actually ran out of things to say. I'm amazed.
Yeah. You know what else is amazing?
I desperately do.
Diapods.
What? Diapods?
Diapause, which is basically
Diapers? Like said weird?
nope. It's like DIA and then the word and then pause, but yeah.
Pause.
So diapause.
Dipause.
Which is basically the ability to delay a pregnancy until conditions are favorable for carrying and birthing offspring. A fertilized embryo will hold off on implanting in the wall of the uterus, pausing biological development as a result. And a lot of mammals actually can do this. Like bears, for example, will if they get pregnant in the winter when they're malnourished and possibly start going to starve, they will turn on their whatever diapause and it will wait and stop developing, and then it will implant it in the spring when it gets warm and there's more animals to eat. Um,
Weird.
yeah. But according to a new paper published in Cell Journal, humans may actually be able to do this too. Human stem cells and blastoids enter a very similar state to diapause when researchers inhibited a series of chemical reactions known as the mTOR signaling pathway. And once the pathway is uninhibited, everything goes back to normal. So, they can pause it and then restart it, it seems like. Kind of like just with blocking a chemical pathway. Anyway, um so we can't do it naturally anymore, but being able to do it like kind of like force it, um the experiments indicate that the state could be induced to assist with in vitro fertilization, allowing an embryo to synchronize with the mother's uterus before actually implanting. So they can put it in there and then like wait until it's like the perfect time and then be like, okay, now implant. So that's exciting. It's a weird thing. It's weird
Yeah.
that other animal. I mean, I guess we could do it in the past, probably too. It's just not something that it expresses anymore. But yeah, what a weird ability. Just be like, no, I'm not gonna get pregnant yet. I'll wait a little while. That's so strange.
Pause. Yeah, to put it on pause, literally.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. I didn't mean to leave you hanging there for a second with
No, it's
silence.
okay.
I was going to reply, but yeah, that's interesting. Could
I wonder if
be.
they can do something like that with like it'd probably be a whole different set of genes and stuff. But that's probably what they want to do with aging. They want to be like, oh, if we just stop this reaction from
Hmm.
expressing, we can just all live forever.
Yeah.
But that'd be better than having to shoot up your kid's blood, though. So
right. 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 Like that one guy. I
yeah,
don't even remember his name. The
yeah,
rich guy who spends
rich
like all of his
crazy.
time basically just doing rather creepy methods for trying to prolong his life. Like his he would go in with his like teenage son, but also his father. His teenage son would donate his blood to his father, And then I guess just to like, hey, pass it along, the guy would donate his blood, his like middle-aged blood or whatever, to his elderly, or not elderly necessarily, but his father. Just trade up blood from the younger one.
Opposite of a hand-me-down, like a hand-me-up.
Yeah. But also like, hey son, give me your blood. I'm gonna live forever.
I gotta need some of your blood. Yeah.
And really, if he's handing his blood up to his dad, then it's not just his blood; it's the blood that he got from his kid too. So the grandpa's getting a little bit of that extra young, you know.
It's like Doc Brown in Back to the Future 2 when he's got like the prosthetic mask on and everything. He's like, well, I wanted to make sure that you'd recognize me because I had all this restorative stuff done or whatever. I had them flush my kidneys and redo my liver. And I'm like, wow, they really thought there was going to be a lot of things in the future. Rehydrated pizzas and flying cars, and you could just have your organs redone.
Well, I'm still hoping they can set it up so we can get our lungs picked, but so far it's not happened.
We were talking, Melanie and I were talking the other day about how, I don't know, I think Melanie, you were saying like technology's really progressed a lot, and it has in the past couple decades, quite a bit. But also like, then I'm like, yeah, but also not. There's a lot of crap we were promised that they have not delivered on yet.
Yeah.
It's that whole necessity thing, you know, until it's needed, nobody cares to do it, you know?
Well, and even when it is, they still don't really care if it costs them money or they can't just make money off not doing it.
Yeah. Well, we had a friend who basically designed Grubhub or Uber Eats like decades ago. He figured out that would be a moneymaker. Of course, you know, you have an idea and don't do anything with it. Someone else will eventually get there, but yeah.
Well, and some things just don't hit at the right time.
Right.
And also, as odd as it is, something like Grubhub or Uber even, or something I think really benefited from, well, it's an app. And thus they can like fund it through raising money as a tech company. I feel like it's definitely tapered down now, but there's a lot of money thrown specifically at, tech company, there's an app or whatever.
Yeah.
I'll throw money at you. Whereas like, you want to make a new taxi service? They're not going to necessarily throw money at just that. Or food delivery, huh? But if it's an app.
Yeah, ironically, like you could have done DoorDash or Uber Eats a long time ago because it's just a food delivery service, and you could have done that on the internet. Like the infrastructure for that kind of a website has been around forever. But yeah, it wasn't until the smartphones really took off with the GPS technology, and now you can track your delivery driver getting to your house with your food. Now we're in.
Yeah, I think it required enough bells and whistles where you'd wow investors, I think is a big part of it.
Yeah.
But also it gets to the point where people are like, at a certain point, people are like, I'll just order from a Pizza Hut or somewhere that has delivery, or I'll just go get it myself. You got to wait long enough till everybody's just like, I
don't want to go to the grocery store.
Can it just come here? I got a phone. What can I do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that and probably knowing, I'm assuming when they made it, they knew that the places that did have delivery might have a habit of either they don't deliver there or they deliver to the wrong place or something like that, because that like the tracking part of it is kind of an aspect of that, because I'm thinking of actually like school bus stuff, but still like picking up or dropping off kids. Parents were like demand. They're like, where is it? Where's my kid at? Where's the bus? Where's, whatever. And we had that for a long time. But it wasn't until they were like, really like, I want this information now, that we were like, well, here's the tracking app that we have and use. Now you can use it too, which is, I don't know why they didn't do that a long time ago, but
Man, do the schools have that? Because like, I feel like we never know when our bus is going to show up.
Really? They should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
It's well,
interesting.
I don't know if you guys do because you're your own school system, but OPS has Find Your Bus.
Hmm.
Yeah, you put in the bus number,
I think we
the school.
contract, so I don't know if we have access to anything like that or not.
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on which school bus company you're going through.
Right.
STA has it, and so does Zoom, but I don't know about the
Well,
other ones.
there's also like being able to track a thing doesn't necessarily mean it's going to get there on time still.
Oh,
Oh, sure,
that's
but I mean,
very
like,
true.
we just don't even know. Like, we're like,
Okay.
we don't know
Okay.
when the bus is coming. Period. You know,
Yeah.
Oh.
like we'll even call the bus companies, and they'll be like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
there's a shortage of drivers. There
oh,
has been
sure,
for a long time, and partially it's just that it's not a good gig because it's part time, so you don't get insurance, and even though you get paid a lot, you don't get insurance or anything else, and it's that's pretty much what people live off of, people that work there. So
sure.
you know,
Oh, and I get it. I'm sure that they're overbooked. I'm sure they're running sports events. I'm sure they're
yeah,
running field trips. I'm sure they're running kids to and fro.
yeah,
Beginning of the day and at the end of the day, and sometimes the buses break down.
uh,
So I get, and then there's just the traffic of Omaha, which is crazy.
yeah,
So I definitely get it, but it's also like, why can't we why can't we accurately get that information so we can just calm parents down, because
right,
kids have smartwatches and they'll just call mom. And we're like, oh,
yeah,
the bus isn't here right now. Well, it's coming in. If you could just tell them it's coming in 5 minutes,
hmm,
then they would not call home.
right. That's exactly why the tracking app is, I think, super important and should have been implemented a long time ago because you can. Sorry, this is boring, but you can see where the bus is and probably how long it's going to be, especially if you look at it every day and see the route that it
Hmm.
goes. You'll know.
All right.
Anyway, I'm sorry. That's boring stuff.
Well, I mean, it's
I mean,
adjacent to
I
what we
don't.
were talking about anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. And I wasn't bored. If I looked bored, it was just because I'm like listening and like trying to think of what can I contribute to this. So
Yeah.
I don't have to
Man,
be able to contribute to everything. But if my face was just like, yeah, I was just thinking about what you're saying.
your face probably looks like my face looks most of the time. That's why I don't show it on on the camera.
It's like a resting, huh, face.
Resting face.
Yeah.
uh, what else was I gonna say? I don't think anything. Um, I did like where that conversation went. It kind of went like several different places.
It really did. Yeah.
Partway through, I was like, "How did we get here?" Then I was like, "Oh yeah, no, there was actually a logical like path."
Mhm.
Okay. Before we bounce out, Jesse, you got something going on this weekend. I don't know how many of our listeners will happen to be in the area, but what do you got going on this weekend?
Mid America Center Nuke Con is this weekend,
Ooh,
and I will be there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
ooh, long weekend.
Yeah, it's a 3-day show, which I don't love me some 3-day shows, but I'll do it because there's only so many shows left, and so I'm there. I'm in it.
What? Why do you think that? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to derail what you're saying.
Oh well,
Keep
I
going.
I think why do you think that they still do 3-day shows, or why do you think?
No, you said there aren't too many left. It does seem like several cons like kind of bit the dust in the last couple of years, and I know obviously 2020 was rough for everything live, but I would have expected them to bounce back more resilient after, and that did not seem to be the case.
I think the ones that survived are doing pretty well, but I think you hit on the main thing is that a lot of people who were making enough money to do this seasonally kind of dropped off. Like this was their side gig, and now they haven't made money in a couple of years, and then that money disappears, and then
Right.
like how do you raise that money to start
It's a
again?
momentum thing. Yeah, you
Absolutely.
lose momentum, it's harder to get it rolling again.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird because it's the opposite of what has happened in the concert industry, where it's like
Yeah.
everybody and their mom has come back to do a tour, whether they were before the pandemic or not. Like it used to be where it's like, oh, we'll space out our touring, but then nobody could tour. So now everybody's touring like all the time, it seems like.
There's even been a few. I can't think of off the top of my head. I feel like there was talk of possibly Black Sabbath reunion, but I think fell through. There's been a few bands where I'm like, where I heard they're going on tour. I'm like, why? You need to stop. You're gonna die on stage. You're so old. Just relax, man.
Right? Yeah. For real. Like you can barely talk. How are you gonna sing for at least an hour?
like Ozzy, it's like, dude, you're just gonna have AI lip syncing for you. Like, what are you doing? Don't do it, man. Stop it. I don't know. I don't know that he would do that, but
and I don't know that he. I mean, like, does he need more money? Like, I suppose he's got a lot of health issues now, but like, does he need that? If somebody's investing his money, he's probably fine.
But yeah, no, the you know, you're right. It makes sense for them to like, whereas the con is it's they're not necessarily making their living doing that. Right. But they definitely need the money to reinvest for next year. And once you lose that momentum, whereas like a musician or something, like that's, if they're doing it for a living, that's where they make most of their money. So it makes sense that would bounce back. And sorry if you could hear that. There was a car going by. It was kind of loud.
I heard barely something. I don't think our listeners will. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing this weekend, and a 3-day con's a long haul. I don't know that people are really interested in coming on a Sunday, but you know, if you are, I'll be there.
Cool. Nuke Con.
One of the oldest running cons in the area, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, because I mean, a lot have come and gone, and Nuke Con is still there. Oh wow! I've got the postcard behind me. Even I think it says 30 some years or something.
Oh.
Wow.
That's at the Mid-America Center?
Yep, Mid-America Center. In fact, Mystic Fest is going to be happening the same weekend in the same venue. So like right across the hall from us, there's going to be all the tarot card readings, all the palm readings, all the crystals you could shake a stick at, or shake a bag of runes at, whatever, you know.
I was gonna say, I love shaking sticks at crystals. That sounds like something you might see over there.
It sounds like something that a sexy would do, or a gelfling. Looks like gelfling. Maybe it's gelfling.
Right.
Sorry, everything's about puppets. You know this.
Yeah.
34 years of tabletop gaming.
Cool.
Sweet.
Hey, Melanie, you got anything you want to mention before we bounce out of here?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll be streaming tomorrow night. I'll be doing my radio show, Edge of the Abyss, on Helix Rock Radio, which you can hear here if you're listening to us over there right now, or go to rockradio.live at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 2 hours. Death metal, thrash metal. It's October, actually. Tomorrow, I'm pretty sure, is going to be my second zombie-themed broadcast. I've done one before. You know, who'd have thought? Who'd have thought there's a lot of zombie-themed metal that you could find. So, yeah, almost the whole show will be zombie-themed, thrash, death metal. Probably not too much black metal. Black metal doesn't usually go for like the camp horror stuff, but yeah, a lot of zombie themed metal tomorrow night. So join me there. Let's rock out.
Woo?
Okay, there you go. I heard a noise from the other room, but Melanie's microphone was muted, and so I was like, wait, is she gonna repeat that noise? Because it was a pretty funny noise.
Yeah. I didn't really though. Not the same way.
Also, when is it coming out? Might be right around. I recorded another episode with Matty D, and on his show, the middle-aged movie review podcast.
Oh, hey-o. Did you guys do the thing?
We didn't do the thing.
No, because there was
I was supposed to.
People. That's right.
I was supposed to do the thing. Because I was like, if I could if I hit The Shining, The Thing, and Halloween, like that's kind of like the Holy Trinity. Except, well, The Exorcist probably throw that in there. But I ended up bailing on The Thing, just because I had a lot of stuff to do.
But you're doing Halloween? Is that what I hear?
I will. Yes, Halloween, the original John Carpenter's Halloween. We did a discussion. We recorded that already. I think that'll be their Halloween episode. I'm not sure exactly what day it's dropping. Maybe the 26th. Saturdays are usually when they drop episodes. Fun discussion. A lot of fun. I was on there with Maddie D, his two co-hosts, and Cyber Shark was the name of the other guest. That's what he goes by anyway. I'm assuming that's his Christian name. So
Christian name, yes.
It was a fun discussion. Whatever. It's Halloween. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. Everything is great on Halloween.
Yes. And speaking of, we'll be doing more things this month. We'll be doing some themed stuff and talking some spooky stuff. Tonight totally wasn't we have no idea what we're going to talk about. We're going to wing it show, I swear.
It was fine. I think it was a fine
It's
show.
part of the Grawlix charm.
Honestly, it's kind of our best shows. I mean, I was going to say when we plan too hard, it doesn't work right, but that's not true. Some of our like themed specials and stuff are also great.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.
You're
welcome.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I got a couple messages I want to talk to you.
Oh.
Have you heard of the goodness of Peter Dietermeyer? Dieter Petermeyer?
Peter Dietermeyer, or Putter Dietermeyer, excuse me, Putter.
Hey, real quick, do you have a collection of articles for the internet that you want to read but don't have time to dive into at the moment? ListenLater.net has a new way to handle that problem with podcasting. ListenLater.net turns articles into episodes of a podcast. So your reading list can automatically be transformed into a podcast. It works via email. So you just share the article you want via a special Listen Later email address, and listenlater.net will translate the whole thing into a spoken audio podcast. Listen Later uses some really high quality AI voices to read your audio. They're really excellent narrators, and you can choose from numerous voice options. You can also have Listen Later auto-translate articles in other languages into your chosen language. Go to listenlater.net and sign up now. It's free. Plus, Helix Rock Radio listeners get 20% extra credits for their initial purchase if they reach out via the support form or the support email address. Again, that's listenlater.net, and sign up and get 20% extra credits by mentioning Helix Rock Radio. Okay, I'm not going to speed read through the other sponsored thing. We'll hit it later. Sorry, Brandon. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
I totally forgot those were things. That was something we were doing.
Well, they can just skip the end.
Never, you don't want to skip the sponsor segment. That's the best part of the show. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. Grawlixpodcast.com, GRAWLIX podcast.com. It's October.
Woo! Or boo!
That was really good. I like that.